So today we are at the Moonwake Coffee Roasters Farmers Market, and I thought this was really interesting to showcase. This is a farmers market, and we have a pour-over coffee experience where you can get two different coffees and kind of the comparative tasting. And we are at a farmers market where there are arguably very normal people, and I think this is interesting, especially in some place like the Bay Area, where people generally drink very darkly roasted charcoal coffee, to put out some of these brighter, lighter coffees and let people actually see what exists in coffee. And I just want to have Mabel, who's one of the owners of Moonwake, talk about the entire concept and what kind of the experience of serving black coffee, serving scary coffee out there to the normal world, what that has been like, and has anybody appreciated? Do normal people realize that specialty coffee and some of these more interesting coffees exist out there, and can they start appreciating what exists in the coffee world? And I think that kind of needs to be communicated either through taste or through an experience, and that is what they are trying to do over there. So I want to show that off.
Here is Mabel, so we'll do a quick little intro, and then we can talk a bit about the setup. As you guys have seen the setup before, but we'll cover what I think is interesting and what it's really cool.
Yeah. So my name is Mabel. You've met my husband Ming. I am the mysterious off-camera co-owner of Moonwake Coffee Roasters, and this is our kind of V2 farmers market setup. You've kind of seen our previous tour that Ming walked you through, but this is actually our first time piloting this new, I think, experience, and we're happy to talk you through kind of what we've learned today.
Definitely one thing that I found interesting about this specific farmers market booth, or coffee done at a farmers market, is that you guys do not serve batch or drip, and that's been really, I guess I find that very interesting, because generally speaking, when you think about farmers markets, you think about coffee setups, people are doing drip. I mean, you guys have people who ask about House Blend all the time, but instead you've decided to do pour over and all of that. Why pour over?
Yeah. So there's actually two reasons. One, in terms of why we don't do batch or drip coffee, kind of the traditional drip coffee. Number one is we don't have access to a commercial batch brewer. We did pilot for some of the pop-ups in the past doing like a drip or a batch brew. We used like a Big Joe brewer. I don't know if you're familiar, but you basically can make almost like a half-gallon size. But we found out that it's very time-consuming to stand there and make this huge pour-over, and then B, we also find out that we make too much, at the end of the day, and not enough people, use it all, and it's kind of a shame, to have to dump out all that coffee at the end of the day. So I think for us, we already knew that we wanted to optimize for more of a pour-over experience to minimize the waste. Actually, Brian, you might have remembered when we first started, we were kind of chaotic and decided to do only pour-overs on bar to really highlight, I think, what's great about the coffee essence, and identifying different flavors that pair well with the coffee as well.
Yeah.
So that was a little chaotic.
But I mean, we're in the Bay Area. Generally speaking, I think most people are drinking dark roast coffee.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're even trying to do pour over only is pretty crazy. Like that, to me, I'm like, that is insane.
Yeah.
So eventually, you got the espresso setup. You can do the milky drinks.
Yep.
After serving pour over all these different weeks, have you experienced any? Do people come back for pour over? Do people actually appreciate this? Are people okay with drinking light roast, very scary things that have acidity? What's that experience been like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think a lot of people, to your point, they have this idea of when they come to a farmer's market, all right, it's going to be either darker roast or grab and go type of setup. And when a customer orders a pour over, I typically try to get a sense of what they're used to before we kind of immediately introduce a lighter roast or a higher acidity coffee. So usually I'll ask them, okay, what kind of coffee do you drink at home, or what roasters do you generally buy from? And that kind of gives me a sense, okay, would they be open to a lighter roast coffee or a higher acidity type of coffee, or do we want to recommend, for example, an Americano instead, which is probably more within their comfort zone? So kind of gauging, the level of interest and openness. I don't want to gatekeep, anything and immediately say, oh, this person doesn't look like, like a light roast drinker, right? Because you could be surprised. But at least giving them the tools to make that decision themselves and for them to feel comfortable. All right, I do want a lighter roast, or I don't want, I know I don't like that. So I think that's the first part, is having that conversation, with the customer as they order. A lot of times customers don't know, right, that lighter roast is a new, option in coffee, and sometimes it's a little scary for them. So we try as much as possible to make it a little bit less daunting and explain the nuances of, say, a lighter roast versus even medium or dark roast.
Given the fact that there's a farmers market booth, I've already seen things where you're even grinding some coffee and you're putting it in jars and you're letting people actually experience the aromatics that you can find out of some of these coffees.
Yeah.
And it's those little small things that I think it's just, I think that really symbolizes people trying or showing. It's like, hey, this is what this coffee stuff can be.
Yeah.
And I think this has been kind of this natural evolution of this, where I feel like, at least in the Bay Area, this is one of the few comparative tastings that you can even do. Like the fact that you can order 2 different coffees in a single set and have someone brew it in front of you and taste that's really hard to do. And the fact that you're doing it at a farmer's market is pretty crazy,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, most people who've seen the last setup video, it's like, this is a pretty crazy setup for a farmer's market. But how come? What's kind of the thought process with the comparative tasting?
Yeah, so if you've seen in the previous video, we actually had the pour-over booth behind. And before we were trying to optimize for the real estate that we had, but we found that a lot of customers actually try to sneak in the back and try to take a look. And we realized, hey, people, want to check out the brew. They have questions, and especially if they're new to brewing coffee at home by themselves, they want some guidance or recommendations, right? So being able to, watch the coffee that maybe they bought the beans for, right? And now they feel more confident to brew it at home themselves. And, we've got really, really great coffee enthusiasts and knowledgeable, people on our team to walk them through. All right, say you don't have an April brewer, or you have like a V60, or like, for example, with these, Wilton coffees, like what are some considerations when you're extracting, like water temperature, grind size, et cetera. So we wanted to change the orientation to make it more approachable and welcoming for people to engage with us in that conversation. Yes, it, may get a little bit crowded at times, people kind of watching it, but I think at the end of the day, we want to foster that kind of, openness and conversation with folks. We piloted it today. I think so far pretty good feedback. I know there's definitely some areas I think we can improve on, but at least a lot of people have found this a really nice kind of break from, all right, I just want to grab my coffee and go, or hey, I want to slow down and kind of hang out a little bit and learn more about the coffees, or at least kind of enjoy the process of preparing the pour over. So.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is the presentation going on here too, where you let people pick between your offerings, and these coffees are they're different enough, but they're also all happen to be from the same producer. So you can get in and taste some of the differences between processing methods and even varietal.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a really cool addition. Are there repeat people that come back and they get pour-overs all the time? Are they experiencing black coffee, or is everybody still getting milky drinks? Or what's kind of the mix of those two?
Yeah, it's really interesting and kind of unexpected when we look at the end of the day what the number of drinks. The pour-overs are one of our top-selling drinks, surprisingly. We get a mix of people that, found us on Instagram, are really interested in what we have to offer, and also, can get some grocery shopping done. And then we'll also have people that I've kind of had that conversation with them and introduced them to the pour-over, and they've been pleasantly surprised and try to see what other new coffees we have on bar. So that's also been really exciting. And yeah, I mean, you'll have the typical people that just want, kind of like a cappuccino ready to go and go shopping. But again, having this section here has been really nice to, I guess, set us apart in terms of we're not just a grab and go. We also want to highlight like the roasting. Ming works really hard to dial in, each of our roasts, and we work really hard to source really great coffees. and presenting it, kind of highlighting it in the best way that we can, and allowing the customer to experience that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Within our resources.
Within the context of a farmer's market. Right.
Yeah. We've been really ambitious, and the great thing is, we have all this, we've invested in operations or processes to make this easier for us to offer these kind of premium experiences. And yeah, we have a Discord within our team going where we discuss kind of crazy ideas. For instance, Alex and one of our other friends actually suggested this orientation. So Ming and I took that feedback and decided, hey, let's try it and see if people like it. And I think we'll continue it in the new year and build out more of our recipes, the information that we share, and the presentation of it.
Yeah.
As well.
Have you had experiences of people who come from drinking really darkly roasted coffee into trying these, and then they're like, why is it so sour? And have you had to ever open up those conversations and explain to people and all of that?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely had end of the day, taste is very personal and subjective. And we're not here to tell you only drink light coffees, right? This is the only way. And for some people, they are very comfortable staying within what they know with darker and medium roasts, and that's totally fair. We at least want to, appreciate them, being open to even trying it. We'll have people that, we'll offer them a drink after having that conversation, and at the end they're like, I still prefer, more traditional and darker, and that's okay. They don't have to drink our lighter roasts, and that's kind of why we have different options. Yeah, we have options and different profiles, so that way, we highlight what we think is the best potential for the coffee, whether it be lighter roasted, medium, or sometimes even darker roasted. So that way people can kind of, enjoy coffee in the way that they
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these coffees are super vibrant, but I do think how you guys are brewing definitely focus more on balance. Yes, there's acidity, but overall, it's sweet, it's approachable flavor profile.
Yeah.
But it's cool that you're putting these coffees out there and honestly taking that risk.
Yeah.
I think a lot of shops in the Bay Area, I'll just be very frank, I think a lot of shops aren't taking that risk of even buying these coffees and putting that out there, even in a roasted form, but now even giving you an opportunity to taste it. So it's really awesome. This is why I like showing this off all the time, because I'm like, there are people, at least in the Bay Area, who are trying and putting these coffees out there, showing the normal masses what coffee can be. I want to thank Mabel, also Ming there, for setting this all up and putting these coffees out there. And if you guys wanted to pick up these coffees, they're going to be linked below, at least a website and all of that, because I think these are fantastic coffees, so you should try them out. But the fact is you can go to a farmer's market and taste these coffees, and
Yeah.
I think that is awesome. So really want to thank you guys for doing that.
Yeah, and we're appreciative of people being open, to trying and stepping out of their comfort zone, because I think that's how you grow, right? You kind of push yourself a little bit, and then you realize there's, a lot more that you can enjoy and experience. And I think we want to give people that option and openness if they're comfortable, and we don't ever want to force anybody, one way or another.
Yeah, but it seems like at least the local community of people who come to this farmers market, they are appreciating you guys, and the fact that they even buy pour over is already the start. So I think that is amazing. So yeah, all right, we will probably make some more videos later, but see you guys around.
All right, see ya.
All right, bye.